Discipline. What's the first thought or image that comes to your mind when you hear this word? If you're someone who's self aware and you know that you're not disciplined or don't have enough of it, the word likely carries a negative connotation. To you, discipline might mean obedience, punishment, sacrificing pleasures, not having a choice, or always doing the right thing regardless of your feelings. This is especially true if you grew up in a home with strict parents or went to school that was pretty heavy on enforcing rules. And if you're someone who's already disciplined enough, the word might conjure up images of something related to pushing through the pain or sacrificing short term comfort for long term benefits. To you, the word does not carry a negative connotation because you know self discipline is one of the cornerstones of success. You know that great things cannot be achieved without sacrifices, which is why you're willing to push through the discomfort of everyday life and take action for a better future. You also might know that people like you are in the minority. It's also possible that seeing people not being disciplined or overindulging in something or the other makes you cringe. But what if I told you that discipline could look like something else entirely? It could look like partying with your friends on Saturday nights, deciding to sleep in almost every day and waking up at 12 noon, binging Netflix for 4 hours straight while eating junk food. You get where I'm going with this. And you're likely very surprised and confused because this kind of sounds like having your cake and eating it too. And I'm not gonna lie, that's exactly what it is. Discipline isn't what most people think it is. And that likely includes you, no matter which side of the discipline spectrum you're in. It's not about rules, regulations, sacrifice, or punishment. It isn't also about being rigid or boring or doing the same thing again and again. Discipline is not something others enforce on you. It's something that you choose for yourself. It is internal. It comes from within. Discipline is a choice. It's all your decisions, big or small, that you make based on what your life looks like right now and how you would want it to look like in the future. So when you think about people who party like crazy or sleep in regularly or eat junk food, it's unreasonable to assume that they're not disciplined or they have nothing worthwhile going on in their lives. Maybe the guy who parties like crazy on Saturdays remains super disciplined on the other 6 days of the week. Maybe the one who sleeps in regularly works at a flexible job that they're really good at. So regardless of when they wake up, as soon as they start work, they get the job done. Or the guy who binges Netflix for 4 hours every day. They might work at a high stress, high pay job. So when they're back home, they have no energy to do anything else. The point I'm trying to make is discipline alone rarely ever equates to success. For it to lead you to success, you also need a purpose. It's likely that as a child, you were conditioned to believe that discipline must be this painful and boring process that everyone must go through for them to be successful. That it's doing what you're supposed to or what you've committed to doing regardless of how you're feeling that day. When in reality, getting successful also requires purpose, creativity, passion, confidence, and to some extent, luck. Having discipline without having all of these things is meaningless because what you're essentially doing is probably punishing yourself for nothing. It's like trying to fit a rock star in the job position of a librarian or vice versa. So before I discuss why these things are so very important, passion, purpose, creativity, confidence, education, innovation, and luck, let's dive a bit deeper into why people have problems staying disciplined. If you've looked into the topic on the internet, read a few articles or watched a couple of videos, you've likely come across plenty of advice on how to achieve your dreams by being disciplined. And a lot of that advice talks about the same things, about how you should wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning, immediately make your bed after, take a cold shower, then head to the gym, eat right, practice journaling, reduce screen time and remove distractions, so on and so forth. Much of this advice does make sense. But when you consider the vast majority of the population, it just isn't realistic. Much of this information that gets passed on as advice is not the key to cultivating self-discipline, because this advice is geared towards treating the symptoms of the problem, not the problem itself. That's why so many people give up on their New Year's resolution on the first week itself. That's why so many people get all hyped up and excited over doing or learning something new when it seems like a novelty, but they ultimately give up when the novelty wears off or when things get tough. And then they realize this isn't what they want. And what follows are usually feelings of guilt and shame. They wonder why they can never bring themselves to finish what they started. They feel worthless and often punish themselves by going to opposite and extreme lengths. So if a person falls off the wagon when they are on a diet, they might go on a guilt eating spree where they consume insane amount of calories by demolishing a whole birthday cake by themselves or finding religion in a large tub of ice cream. Then they get excited again on getting a new shiny object. And the cycle of feeling guilt, shame, and punishing themselves continues. If you feel this way too, then know that you're not alone. It's pretty much standard human response to coping up with failure. But if discipline and commitment are not the keys to success, then what is? I know this might sound like a massive cliche, but the solution to the problem lies in knowing yourself and doing what you love. Because enjoyment and achievement go together. That's why doing the inner work upfront is so important to get your priorities straight. To that, you might respond by saying, "Oh, that's crazy. If I love smoking weed and play video games all the time, how is doing what I love help me break out of this habit?" Well, that's not what I meant by doing what you love. Take this example for instance. If you want to break the habit of smoking weed and playing video games all day, then you have to find something else that you love doing instead. If your parents constantly remind you what a waste of space you are and your friends have successfully failed in getting you out of the house, then it could mean that you likely love doing something indoors, something that doesn't involve smoking up and playing video games. If you're out of shape and lead a pretty much unhealthy lifestyle, inculcating strict discipline around intense exercise and a strict diet right from the get-go because your friend says so is likely to fail. And when it does, you'll feel guilty about it and come back to the same familiar comfort of smoking up and playing video games. Why is such a drastic change in lifestyle likely to fail? It's because you didn't choose it for yourself. Your well-meaning friends dragged you into it. Self-discipline is something you have to choose for yourself. And you can start the journey by doing what you love. If you're addicted to video games and weed, and you're not much of an outdoorsy person or likes going to the gym, you can start by exploring interests that don't require high willpower. Maybe you like to read, paint, write, or play board games, but haven't done those things in a while because video games took your life over at some point in your life and you never realized it. It could be time to revisit those interests and see if you can fall back in love with any of those activities. If you do manage to find something else that you love, you'll soon find that staying disciplined doesn't make you feel miserable, that you quite enjoy reading, writing, painting, and other things. It feels effortless, like your second nature. You can still enjoy smoking and gaming once in a while, but your life is not governed by them anymore. In fact, your sessions will likely feel even more fun because the guilt associated with doing nothing productive all day has vanished. Example 2. You can apply the same principle of doing what you love to every other aspect of human endeavor. A person who feels miserable for not doing their homework despite trying repeatedly has to find a subject they're interested in. Someone who's overweight and cannot get lean no matter how hard they try because they end up high-calorie junk food cannot stay disciplined on a diet of chicken, broccoli, and brown rice. They need to find a diet plan with foods that taste good, are low in calories, and don't make them feel miserable. Do you see where I'm going with this? Or do I have to scream like Coach Greg to get this point across your skull? Even though it's entirely logical to imagine that discipline is about harnessing your willpower and forcing yourself to do unpleasant things for the sake of the greater good. But the reality is that we stick with activities and achieve goals only if we enjoy the process of accomplishing them. If you take advice from some of the greatest athletes, they'll tell you what separates from them from the not so greats is the fact that they train even when they don't feel like it, especially when they don't feel like it. And you'll interpret that like, okay, so there's no other alternative to discipline and I must push through my unwillingness and discomfort because if they can do it, then I can do it. By interpreting it like that, you're missing the point entirely. They are who they are today because they're following their purpose, their greater calling, if you will. They are at the top of their game because they're doing what they love. Now, they might not love doing the same thing every day, but at least they love it 7 out of 10 days. You know what I'm saying? When they say they train even when they don't feel like it, they mean that for the remaining 3 days, they train anyway using their willpower. Do you think it is possible for anyone to get good at anything if they hate doing it and it makes them feel miserable? Do you think I would be making these videos if I didn't like the process at all, just to get some internet clout? So, get rid of these old notions of discipline about suffering and trial by fire and all that crap. You're going to have to suffer anyway. The goal is to find something that's worth suffering for. Otherwise, it's like signing up for the military because you thought the boys look cute in uniform. The ideal goal here is to completely detach discipline from willpower. Most people are not going to get there, but it's something worth striving towards. Okay, now that you have some idea about what discipline is and isn't, let's talk about how you can find your passion, your purpose, the one thing that makes all the suffering worth it. I'm going to deviate from the topic a little bit, but I think you'll find this part of the video useful as well. So thus far, we've established that in order for us to stay disciplined, we must do something that we love. To find something that you love that's going to result in the life you imagine for yourself in the future, you're going to have to change the way your inner voice speaks to you when you fail or want to give up. Instead of taking it personally and punishing yourself, take it as an opportunity to explore something new. This isn't going to be easy, and I know that it goes against conventional wisdom because conventional wisdom is all about staying true to your word and suffering through the consequences. But I don't want you to do that. The next time you want to quit something you started on an impulse, ask yourself if you want to quit because A, you found something else that piques your interest, a shiny new object, or B, you want to quit because you genuinely dislike what you're doing now. Be honest with yourself. If the answer is A, then don't quit. Stick with it for a while longer and see how you feel. Give it a week or two. See if the shiny object is still as appealing as it was when you first discovered it. If your answer is B, then quit. Because life is too short to be stuck doing something that you despise. And after you've quit, mentally prepare yourself to go through the same steps again and again till you find something that aligns with your natural curiosity. This sounds shockingly simple, but trust me, it's not easy. The process will be frustrating, but at least you now know the steps to pursue to find your passion and find your purpose. Some people go their entire lives without never knowing what is their true calling and can never rise beyond mediocrity because they don't know what they're supposed to be doing with their lives. They feel like they don't belong. Also, accept the fact that us human beings are not supposed to have one single purpose for the rest of our lives. As you grow and mature, your perspectives will change. So will your priorities. So the amount of dedication you were once able to show towards something before will not be the same. As a result, your discipline will wane. You must then find something else that captures your imagination and challenges you to grow. The mind, when left to its own devices, will stagnate and at some point give in to the law of entropy, which means that anything that's not tended to will eventually at some point lead the way to chaos. Clarity in your actions start with clarity in your thoughts. And it's up to you to find what keeps your mind and body engaged in every stage of your life. That's how you stay disciplined. That's how your discipline combines with creativity, confidence, education, innovation, and luck to get you success. Like, comment, subscribe, and send this video to someone who might find it useful. Till next time, see ya.